You're like, my lords, special guests, distinguished participants, welcome to the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators Nigeria Branch 2020 Annual Conference. This is the first ever virtual conference hosted by the branch. I wish our delegates, our guests, and all conferees happy deliberation. I now have the privilege to invite the branch chair, Mr. Olatunde Busari, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Chartered Arbitrator, to give his welcome remarks. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Agada. The Chief Justice of Nigeria, Honorable Justice Ibrahim Tanko Mohammed. The keynote speaker, Honorable Chief Justice of Rwanda, Honorable Justice Dr. Faustine Intezil-Yayo. The guest of honor, President of the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators, Francis Xavier. The Honorable Justice Amina Haugi, Justice of the Supreme Court. The Honorable Justices of the Court of Nigeria, the President of the Court of Appeal, Honorable Justice Monica Dongban-Mensem, Honorable Justices of the Court of Appeal, the Honorable Chief Judge of the Federal High Court, Justice John Soho, the Honorable Chief Judge of the Federal Capital Territory, Honorable Justice I.U. Bello, the President of National Industrial Court, Honorable Justice B.D. Kanye, learned senior advocates of Nigeria, the presidents and chairmen of professional organizations, distinguished guests and speakers from all over the world, distinguished ADR and arbitration practitioners, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, gentlemen of the press. I'm happy to welcome you on behalf of the Nigerian branch of the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators. I'm happy to welcome you on behalf of the Nigerian branch of the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators to the 2020 Annual Conference, holding virtually on the Zoom platform and Wova app. We are our first ever virtual conference, and this has come about as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, which the world is still grappling with. The outbreak of the pandemic in the first quarter of the year necessitated that we think of alternatives to the traditional physical conference, bearing in mind the social distancing guidelines of the WHO. It is now obvious that the world will never be the same again, even after COVID, as they are fallen to do things differently. In the light of the new normal, we are presenting to the world the 2020 Annual Chartered Institute of Arbitrators Conference with the aid of technology on the Zoom platform and the Wova app. And this will give delegates the opportunity to network with delegates from across the globe prior to and during the conference. The reception has been quite encouraging, as we are proud to announce that as of today, More than 1,200 participants have registered across the globe. The Chartered Institute of Arbitrators is an international non-for-profit charity organization with headquarters in the United Kingdom and branches in different parts of the world. Its growing membership of over 16,000 is spread across 149 countries and supported by an international network of 41 branches. For over 100 years, the Institute has played a pivotal role in the training of practitioners in arbitration and other forms of ADR, developing rules, ethics, and guidelines that govern these mechanisms and thereby impacting greatly on the availability of trained and certified arbitrators in several jurisdictions of the world. We also act as a global hub for practitioners, policymakers, academics, and those in business, supporting the global promotion, facilitation, and development of all ADR methods. The Nigerian branch, the Institute has 6 branches in Africa, namely the Kenya, Mauritius, South Africa, Zambia, Zimbabwe, and the Nigerian branch. The Nigerian branch is one of the 41 branches of the Institute. And we got the branch status in 1999. Today, there are over 1,300 financial members, and the Nigerian branch is regarded as the fastest growing branch in the world. We have 3 chapters, one in Abuja, Port Harcourt, and the third in Ibadan. And our members continue to excel in their spheres of practice. Only recently, 17 members of the branch have emerged on the final list of legal practitioners that will be elevated to the rank of the Senior Advocate of Nigeria later this year. The theme of this year's conference is arbitration and ADR in a free trade regime, assessing Africa's readiness. This seeks to throw light on the opportunities and challenges in the African continent under the Free Trade Agreement after, from a dispute resolution perspective. The theme has been broken down to other topics and sub-themes to be discussed at the different sessions during the conference. These sub-themes include the relationship between the judiciary and arbitration and ADR, promoting a pro-enforcement culture in Africa. We will discuss the Singapore Convention on Enforcement of Mediation Agreements. We will discuss the free trade regime and investor-state disputes. The conference will also discuss the enforcing arbitral awards and settlement agreements in Africa, parties to a contract to arbitrate, the impact of neocolonialism and shadow interest, the impact of the One Belt, One Road initiative on the resolution of disputes in Africa, the culture of waste and underdevelopment, a challenge to a free trade regime in goods and services. We'll discuss the dispute resolution protocols in the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. We'll discuss the role of existing arbitral institutes in Africa and their continued relevance to socio-economic development. Our session speakers and moderators are vastly experienced and have been carefully selected on the basis of their experience and exposure in the respective subject areas. As dispute is an inevitable byproduct of commerce, the African Continental Free Trade Agreement contains a protocol for dispute resolution, which identifies arbitration and ADR as central to resolution of disputes. With the consistent growth in the use of arbitration, the conference has been designed to enable delegates to get deeper insights into the working of the AFTA and how the benefits of arbitration and ADR can be harnessed for the greater benefits of the continent. With the growth of arbitration, the question as to the limit of the intervention of the court in the arbitral process has been a recurring issue. It is a known fact that for arbitration to thrive in any jurisdiction, it needs a supportive judiciary. Since the machinery to enforce arbitral awards rests with the courts, it is necessary to evaluate the role of the judiciary in providing policy directions and support for arbitration and other ADR processes. Therefore, in assessing Africa's readiness for a free trade regime, particular attention must be paid to the relationship between the judiciary, arbitration, and other ADR measures utilized by parties in resolving their disputes. It is noteworthy that while arbitration continues to thrive as effective machinery for resolution of disputes, mediation as an equally effective machinery continues to gain traction in the continent. Accordingly, in 2019, the United Nations Convention on International Settlement Agreement resulting from mediation, the Singapore Convention, was signed by 46 countries with the aim to facilitate international trade and promote mediation for resolution of cross-border commercial disputes, while also providing an enforcement regime for courts in member states to enforce international settlement agreements arising from mediation. It is therefore fitting that this conference devotes sessions to examine the utilitarian value of this convention in its ramifications. Recent trends in arbitration suggest that parties in Africa are increasingly using African arbitration institutions to resolve their disputes. According to the 2020 Arbitration in Africa survey carried out by the School of Oriental African Studies, University of London, the top 5 arbitral centers in Africa are the Arbitration Foundation of South Africa, the Cairo Regional Center for International Commercial Arbitration, the Kigali International Arbitration Center, the Lagos Court of Arbitration, and the Nairobi Center for International Arbitration. These increase signals the immense growth of arbitration on the continent. It is therefore necessary to assess their role on developing the African continent. The sessions in this conference will certainly provide an avenue for discussions focused on identification of challenges, while also profiling the avenues for advancing the standards for arbitration in Africa. It is my belief that we all have a role in placing Africa on the global map for the advancement and practice of arbitration. I thank all those who have contributed to the success of this conference through their support. I extend my gratitude to my colleagues on the executive committee of the Nigerian branch, as well as the secretariat of the branch. And very importantly, I extend my gratitude and profound appreciations to the members of the conference planning committee, chaired by Mr. Yakubu Mikel, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Fellow of the Institute, all of who have worked tirelessly to organize this conference. Finally, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, once again, I welcome you all to the 2020 annual conference of the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators Nigerian branch, and I wish you insightful and enlightening discussions during the conference. Please stay safe and continue to adhere to advisory from healthcare professionals as we pray for an end to the pandemic. Thank you and God bless. At this point, I have the honor of inviting to give his goodwill address and message the President of the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators, Mr. Francis Xavier, who also is on the platform. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Heartfelt greetings to Honorable Justice Dr. Ibrahim Tanko Muhammad, the Honorable Chief Justice of Nigeria, Honorable Justice Dr. Faustin Enti Zilyayo, the Honorable Chief Justice of Rwanda, other distinguished guests and judicial officers who are gracing this occasion, my dear friend, Chief Bayo Ojo, Olatunde Busari, Chair, Nigeria Branch, Yakubu Maikiao, Chair, Conference Planning Committee, Dr. Agada Ilaki, Session Coordinator, other distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is truly a pleasure to be here with you virtually for the first time in history, I'm told, as I heard the opening remarks. And I think on behalf of the CIR leadership and membership, I wish to applaud all those who are participating here, in particular the Nigeria branch, for having put in the hard work to launch this conference, which was launched officially today, but there were events yesterday as well. And, you know, the rest of the world recognizes that Nigeria is one of the shining beacons of thought leadership in ADR on the African continent, along with its sister African states such as Rwanda, Kenya, South Africa, and so on. And it is time, because, you know, our sense in the rest of the world is that Africa is entering its golden age, just as Asia has achieved its golden age recently. And we look forward to welcoming the powerhouses, you know, as Olatunde has laid out, a number of your jurisdictions are powerhouses on the African continent. We welcome you to become global powerhouses. You know, I dream of a day when Asian litigants, Asian disputants, European disputants will seek to have their disputes resolved in Nairobi, in Lagos, and in other parts of Africa. And in order to achieve that dream, it is very important. And so, you know, we at the Chartered Institute are heartened to see so many, you know, judicial key prime movers in the judiciaries of a number of countries being here with us, especially, you know, Rwanda and Nigeria. The Chief Justices are themselves gracing this occasion. And because no global powerhouse center of ADR on the planet today, be it London, Paris, Singapore, Hong Kong, New York, none of them have got to where they've gotten without the unstinting and enlightened support of the judiciary, be it in upholding arbitration agreements, in staying court proceedings when it is appropriate to do so, in providing support to arbitrations, in enforcing arbitral decisions, in keeping to the tenets of the model law, the global consensus on enforcement of arbitral awards, and the philosophy of the parameters of arbitration and what can and should be upheld and what should not. It is key for the key states in Africa to become beacons and global powerhouses of ADR, to have the support of the judiciary, without which it simply will not be possible for Africa or African states to make themselves known at preeminent centers on the face of our little blue planet in ADR, in particular in arbitration. And I want to say that we are also seeing, you know, arbitration is like Muhammad Ali, right? The reigning world champion of international commercial dispute resolution. But we are now beginning to see the rise of mediation, not only in its pure forms, but also in its hybrid form. So many of us arbitration practitioners and users have for a long time felt that it was optional whether you wanted to be trained in mediation. But please remember this. This is the age. We are entering into the age of mediation, and we are entering into the age of the hybrid process, mediation and arbitration and other forms of ADR. And so it is important for experienced, not so experienced, and new entrants into the arbitration ADR field to be trained in mediation. Because, you know, if you are trained as an arbitrator and you are asked to be the arbitrator in a med up or a hybrid situation, you need to be an expert in both mediation and arbitration. And mediation, the rise of mediation has been tremendous in terms of numbers all across the globe, as has been its effectiveness. You know, in terms of resolving disputes, the figures that are usually cited are well above 70-75% of success rates all across the globe. And so it is timely that both Nigeria and Rwanda, who are represented here by the Chief Justices, have signed up to, you know, 2 of the 7 African states that have signed up to the Singapore Mediation Convention. Obviously, in order for the African continent to become a beacon of trade internationally, you know, we would welcome more states apart from the handful of states that have signed up to the Mediation Convention. As Olatunde has rightly flagged, the Chartered Institute today, has the unenviable position of being the leading accreditation and training organization for ADR in the globe. We have 17,600 odd members spread across 150 countries on the planet. And we hereby provide our unstinting support to the rise of the African states and the African continent into the global powerhouses, the current global powerhouses in the world. And, be it in training of the bar, further training of the bar, you have many experts across the African continent. We've heard a number of them, we'll be hearing a number of them, many of them today. But we need to train the next generation, including to deepen and strengthen further training of judicial officers all across the continent, in promoting the use of African seats for international commercial arbitration, in promoting the use of African, vibrant and progressive African arbitral institutions by non-African disputants, for instance. And so a lot of work needs to be done in partnership with governments, with the judiciary in particular, with the bar and end users, the market players. So a lot of work needs to be done. And as president, I want to say that you have the unstinting backing, support, endorsement of the Ciarb Global Network. And not only that, we also look forward to greater membership participation, outreach in Africa. Tell us how we can help. And you have many leaders who have stepped up to lead the cause of ADR in the African continent. I will end here by saying that, once again, this is a very timely conference. I've looked at your program. It's fantastic. It puts a keen finger on all of the pulses that concern the ADR world today. And you have a sterling cast of panelists. And so it leaves me now to wish you, God's blessings and upon your lives. And may you have a very successful conference. And internationally, we look forward to welcoming, more African states and the rise of African arbitral centers as truly global arbitration powerhouses on this planet. Thank you. Back to the chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President of the greatest ADR Institute in the world. May I now have the honor and privilege to invite to give Conference Planning Committee of the 2020 Annual Conference of the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators. May please help me make welcome Mr. Yakubu Mekiao, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Fellow of the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. May I take the liberty to adopt the protocol already established by my friend and brother, the chair of the Nigeria branch of the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators, Mr. Olatunde Busari, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Chartered Arbitrator. I consider this a rare privilege and honor under God Almighty, and it is with great pleasure that I welcome you to the 2020 Annual Conference of the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators, UK Nigeria branch. On behalf of the members of the Conference Planning Committee and the executive members of the Nigeria branch of the Institute, ably led by my friend, Mr. Olatunde Busari, SAN Chartered Arbitrator, representing over 1,505 members of the Institute in the Nigerian branch, and by all means, the largest branch on the continent of Africa. I welcome and thank you for registering and participating in the unique conference, the very first annual conference of the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators, Nigeria branch to hold virtually. At the time of the constitution of the CPC, our mandate did not contemplate the pandemic. Indeed, the entire world was completely oblivious of the looming coronavirus, alias COVID-19, which suddenly struck with devastating consequences on the entire human existence and way of life. Not in the least our traditional ways of congregating at specific physical locations for conferences, symposia, trainings, and workshops. The pandemic has fostered on us new ways of doing things, leaving us with little or no choice than to hold this conference virtually. Thus, we are not able, both as a branch and CPC, to usher our distinguished guests and participants into the warmth, serenity, and hospitality associated with Abuja, Nigeria's Federal Capital Territory, as originally intended by members of the CPC. We therefore opted for an integrated virtual platform, the Woover app, in order to avail participants the opportunity to intellectually and socially interact. As at the morning of 25th November 2020, we had a total of 1,493 participants with over 4,000 articles, academic papers, and journals uploaded on the platform. Some participants are already on their way to winning the prize for the most socially engaging participant on the platform. Please get on the platform and set yourself up for the first, second, or third prize. The theme of the conference is Arbitration and ADR in a Free Trade Regime Assessing Africa's Readiness. At the beginning of the year, precisely on the 14th of January 2020, our amiable president of the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators, in a message to all members of the Institute on the year ahead, remarked thus, and I quote, "Today, the embrace of the global business and legal community of ADR is overwhelming. The president acknowledged that arbitration has become a popular and globally accepted mechanism for the settlement of commercial disputes, and went on to remark about mediation thus, and I quote, with the advent of the Singapore Mediation Convention several months ago, the popularity of mediation is poised to rise to stellar heights. We are in the money in the sense that the business of the Institute is at the core of global trade and commerce. It behoves us to reflect carefully on how we would collectively lead at the frontiers of ADR, end of quote. In keeping with the vision and admonition of the president of the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators, the two principal documents selected for interrogation in this conference are the Singapore Convention on Mediation and the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. Only 2 weeks ago, Nigeria ratified AFTA, which comes into effect on the 1st of January 2021. The African Free Trade Area covers 54 of the 55 African Union nations. It is clear, therefore, that Africa is making deliberate policy to open up for international trade and intercontinental business. The potentials and implications of this decision for the economy of African states is huge. Sadly, however, Africa lacks the basic infrastructures, laws, judicial regimes that can hoist this openness. The Nigeria's Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment had in September, speaking on the Continental Free Trade Agreement, said, as we gear up to meet the demands of the enlarged continental market, which will be fostered by the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, we are actively working to attract more foreign direct investments into key industries, end of quote. Upon the ratification of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement by the Nigerian government on the 12th of November 2020, the Nigeria's Minister of Information and Culture, Alhaji Lai Mohammed, was reported to have said, and I quote, the main objectives of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement are to are to create a single continental market for goods and services with free movement of business, persons, and investments, and thus pave the way for accelerating the establishment of the customs union. While efforts are being made to open up the African continental market, not much attention is paid to either strengthen existing legal regimes or develop new legal approaches for the resolution of disputes that will certainly arise as a natural consequence of an enlarged continental market. The theme of this conference and the ensuing topics seek to throw light on the opportunities and challenges of such expanded economic explosion in the light of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. The state of security in African states is such that currently, most foreign investors are wary of coming into Africa. Opening up to the world will require not only rebuilding our security architecture, but also must entail a deliberate and conscious resolve to enforce security in order to create the enabling environment for the success of the African continental market. Only through these can we truly make Africa an attractive destination for business and venue or seat for the settlement of the disputes that flow therefrom. There are a total of 10 sessions and 51 speakers carefully and deliberately selected to do justice to the topics. The details of the sessions are already provided in the program of events and in the agenda of the Hoover app. Some sessions will run concurrently, but we all do have a chance of going back to the recordings of all the sessions. The recordings will be available to all participants who have registered during the conference and 6 months thereafter. I must thank all the vibrant, energetic, committed, resourceful, creative, and highly industrious members of the CPC who have worked tirelessly to put this conference together. The vice chair, chairs of logistics, sessions and speakers, media and publicity, and finance subcommittees have been simply exceptionally wonderful. The secretary of the CPC provided us with a functional and efficient secretariat that left no issue unattended. The general manager and staff of the branch secretariat have been very supportive and provided the desired liaison between the CPC and the ESCO. I thank you all for your hard work and diligence in providing the framework upon which this conference is being hosted. We are grateful to all our sponsors for their immense support. May I take the liberty on behalf of the CPC and the Nigeria branch of the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators to commiserate with our brothers and sisters, colleagues across the world who have lost loved ones to the COVID-19 pandemic. We pray for God's comfort and strength in their moments of grief. We also pray for strength, courage, and wisdom for the frontliners in the fight against the pandemic. My lords, your excellencies, distinguished colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, I sincerely hope that the interrogations, discussions, and knowledge sharing that will take place in the next 2 days will immensely contribute to the establishment of a robust, attractive, and conducive atmosphere for trade and commerce within the African Continental Free Trade Area, supported by an efficient legal framework for the settlement of commercial and trade disputes. This conference is in part a heed to the call by the president of the Institute on the need for all of us to reflect carefully on how we should collectively lead at the frontiers of ADR. And I make bold to say that for 105 years now, the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators has led, is leading, and shall continue to lead at the frontiers of ADR. I thank you all for your attention. I now have the honor and privilege to invite my big brother, Chief Bayo Ojo, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, was called to the Nigerian bar in 1978. After graduating from University of Lagos, Nigeria in 1977, he obtained an LLM from the London School of Economics, University of London in 1982, and later got married as got admitted, as a solicitor of the Supreme Court of England and Wales. He's a former Attorney General and Minister of Justice of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, past president of the Nigerian Bar Association, past chairman of the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators, Nigeria branch, a member of the Board of Trustees of the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators, London, president of the African Users Council of the London Court of International Arbitration. He is currently the president of the African Arbitration Association. He is a chartered arbitrator and a fellow of the Institute of Chartered Mediators and Conciliators. He is a recipient of the National Honor of Commander of the Order of the Niger, CON, a distinguished advocate, arbitration practitioner, and gentleman par excellence. Chief Bayo Ojo, Senior Advocate of Nigeria. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Yakubu Michael, for that introduction. My Lord, the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Honorable Justice I.T. Muhammad, GCON, my Lord, the Chief Justice of Rwanda, Honorable Justice Faustin Nteziyayo, FCIR, and my Lord Justice of the Supreme Court of Nigeria, Honorable Justice Amina Ogi, the President of the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators Worldwide, Mr. Francis Xavier, and let me especially thank him for finding time to join this session in spite of his busy schedule. He had just finished a program just before now, and it's actually 5:30 p.m. in Singapore right now at the moment. So thank you so much for always being available to give your support to the Nigerian branch all the time. And thank you for a wonderful year as a president, even though the COVID pandemic, brought a lot of dislocations. The chairman of the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators Nigerian branch, Mr. Olatunde Busari, SAN, distinguished colleagues, participants, ladies and gentlemen, I'm delighted and to welcome you all to the fourth session of the annual General Conference of the Ciarb Nigerian branch for 2020. You will realize that over the years, this conference has been a flagship, which is usually looked forward to by arbitration practitioners all over the world. Unfortunately, like the chairman said in his speech, this year we'll have the COVID pandemic, and we'll have to resort to an online medium to have this conference. This is the new normal, and I'm sure the world will not be the same again. So let me welcome you all to this session. And the topic for this session is the relationship between the judiciary and arbitration and ADR. Is it interventionist or supportive? The relationship between the judiciary, arbitration and ADR, is it interventionist or supportive? The session will be for 1 hour. Each of the speakers will speak for 15 minutes each, and then we'll have Q&A. That is after my introduction. So if you have questions, you can put it on the Q&A part of the Zoom, and then your questions will be read out to the panelists. Now, Oliver Wendell Holmes, the former Chief Justice of the US, said some time ago that when we study law, we are not studying a mystery, but a well-known profession. We are studying what we shall want in order to appear before judges or advise people in such a way as to keep them in court. The reason why it is a profession and why people will pay lawyers to argue for them or to advise them is that in societies such as ours, the command of the public force is entrusted to the judges in certain cases, and the whole power of the state will be put forth, if necessary, to carry out their judgments and decrees. People want to know under what circumstances and how far they will run the risk of coming against what is so much stronger than themselves. And hence, it becomes the business to find out when this danger is to be feared. The object of our study then is the prediction of the incidence of the public force through the instrumentality of the courts. We all know that Oliver Wendell Holmes was an American legal realist. And I do recall 46 years ago when I was in school and the university, my professor of jurisprudence used to sum up the view of American legal realists as the prophecy of what the courts will do. So this underscores how important the courts are in the affairs of men and also in arbitration. And because of this importance, it has been deemed fit to focus on this particular topic and see how this relationship is working out. Are the courts supporting arbitration? Are they just mere interventionists? Are they interlopers? What exactly is the position? And there's no better way to know this than to bring the judges themselves who dispense justice to come and give their perspectives on this particular topic. The first person on the panel is Honorable Justice Dr. Faustin Nteziryayo, FCIR, who is the Chief Justice of Rwanda. Honorable Justice Nteziryayo holds a PhD in law from Antwerp University in Belgium, a master's in physical law from Free University of Brussels, a master's of arts in international affairs with specialization in international trade policy from Carleton University, Canada, and an LLB from the National University of Rwanda. He has also undergone various professional trainings in areas such as negotiations, financial transactions, legal aspects of public debt management, financial regulation, regulation of telecommunication services, corporate governance, arbitration, alternative dispute resolution, judgment writing, amongst others. He has well over 3 decades of professional experience, and he served in various positions within the government of Rwanda, including the Minister of Justice, the Vice Governor of the National Bank of Rwanda, that's the equivalent of their central bank, the Managing Director of Rwanda Utilities Regulatory Agency, Senior Legal Advisor in the Ministry of Commerce and Industry. Justice Nteziryayo has been a consultant with good expertise in legal and regulatory business reforms and trade investment policy and law, trade facilitation, trade-related capacity building, trade and investment-related dispute settlement, the rule of law and corporate governance. In addition, he's had very good teaching and research experience. He has taught in various universities and institutions of higher learning in Rwanda, the United States of America, and Canada. His areas of teaching and research are, amongst others, international economic law, international law of foreign investment, international trade law, especially trade services, international development law, international financial law, and economic and corporate governance. Until 2013, he was the managing director of Agaseki Bank Limited, and his main task was to implement the strategic plan aimed at ultimately transforming that microfinance bank into a fully fledged commercial bank. The said bank was recently acquired by the Bank of Africa. From April 2013 to March 2020, Dr. Nteziryayo was a judge of the East African Court of Justice. Currently, he is the Chief Justice and President of the Supreme Court of Rwanda from the 6th of December 2019. He is a visiting lecturer, senior lecturer of law at the University of Rwanda School of Law, and a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators, London. a member of panel of conciliators of the World Bank's International Center for Settlement of Investment Disputes, ICSID, and a member of the African Arbitration Association. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Honorable Justice Faustin Ntezili-Yayo. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chief Bayo Ojo, for this introduction.
Thank you, sir. Let me also introduce the other panelists before I come back to you to start your perspective, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir. The next member of the panel is Honorable Justice Amina Agin, CON, a Justice of the Supreme Court of Nigeria. She was called to the Nigerian bar on the 8th of July, 1978. She began her legal career as a legal aid counsel at the Legal Aid Council, Sokoto State, while serving the National Youth Service Corps between 1978 and 1979. She rose to become the head of the Department of the Legal Aid Council, Sokoto State from 1980 to 1982. And she had a stint with the Ahmadu Bello University Zaria as an assistant lecturer from 1982 to 1984. And then she served as the senior state counsel in the office of the chief counsel to the then president, Alhaji Shehu Shagari, after which she was appointed a lecturer by the Nigerian Law School. In 1988, Honorable Justice Adamu Agi was appointed chief magistrate in the Sokoto State Judiciary. While serving at the bench, her love and passion for the academia propelled her to accept a part-time employment as a lecturer at the Faculty of Law, Othman Danfodio University, Sokoto, between 1989 and 1992. She also served as associate lecturer in the same university from September 1999 to September 2002. Honorable Justice Agi was elevated to the Court of Appeal bench in 2002, and while at the appellate court, she served in various divisions and rose to become the presiding justice, Benin Division, from July 2009 to September 2010. Presiding Justice Enugu Division from September 2010 to September 2011. Presiding Justice Kaduna Division from September 2011 to September 2012. And Presiding Justice Lagos Division from September 2012 to November 2016. Honorable Justice Amina Agi was elevated to the Supreme Court of Nigeria on the 7th of November 2016. Among the ad hoc duties she's carried out over the years includes just a few of the following. She was appointed Chairman Recovery of Public Properties Tribunal, Sokoto State from 95 to 96. She was appointed Chairman Failed Banks Recovery of Debts and Financial Malpractices in Banks Tribunal, Lagos from March 1996 to May 1999. Chairman National Assembly Governorship and Legislative Houses Election Tribunal from 2000 to 2002. Chairman, Judicial Commission of Inquiry into Niger from September 2001 to July 2002. Other national assignments she had participated in include a member, National Swimming Team, 1973 to 1976. So you see, she's a sportswoman. Federal Government Delegate, United Nations Decade for Women Conference, Nairobi, Kenya, July 1985. Member, National Committee on Prison Reforms, 1992. International Director, National Association of Women Judges, 1997 to 2000. Member, National Working Group on Juvenile Justice Administration, July 2002. Chairman, Experts Consultative Meeting, Passage of Child Rights Bill, March 2003. Member of National Child Rights Implementation Committee, September 2003. And Chairman, National Facilitators of Child Rights Act, April 2004. Member of the Board of Trustees, Human Development Initiatives, HDI, and Child Rights Education Center, 2007 to date. And member, Kebbi State Pilgrims Welfare Board, 2007 to 2016. And member, Board of Directors, Institute of Human Rights and Development in Africa, Banjul, Gambia, 2008 to 2014. So these are just a few of the ad hoc activities which have been undertaken by Honorable Justice Agi over the years. My Lord, welcome to the session.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And the next person I would introduce is the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Honorable Justice Tanko Mohammed, GCON, and Chairman, National Judicial Council. Honorable Justice Ati Mohammed, GCON, was born on the 31st of December 1953. He hails from Doguwa in Giade local government area of Bauchi State. He attended primary school at Giade Primary School from 1961 to 68. He proceeded to government secondary school Lazare from 69 to 73. And his lordship then proceeded to Abdullahi Bayero University College, Kano, for his IGMB from 1975 to 76. After a successful completion of his course, his lordship got admission to read law at the Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, from 76 to 1980. He attended Nigeria Law School from 1980 to 1981. And in furtherance of his educational career, his lordship went back to the prestigious Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, for his master's in law, LLM, on a part-time basis from 82 to 84. In order to update himself in the field of law, his lordship went back to ABU Zaria in between 87 and 98 and obtained his doctorate PhD in law, also on a part-time basis. Honorable Justice Dr. Justice Ati Muhammad GCON was appointed Magistrate Grade 2 between 82 and 84 in the Bauchi State Judiciary. He rose to Senior Magistrate Grade 2 from 84 to 86 and was later appointed Provost, College of Legal Islamic Studies, Bauchi State, from 86 to 89. He was later appointed Chief Magistrate, Deputy Chief Registrar, High Court of the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, between 1990 and 91. And between 1993, he served as a Cadi of the Sharia Court of Appeal, Bauchi State. His lordship was elevated to the position of the Justice of the Court of Appeal from 1993 to 2006. His lordship was appointed to the Justice of the Court in the year 2006 and was sworn in on the 8th of January 2007. He became the substantive Chief Justice of Nigeria and Chairman, National Judicial Council on Wednesday, 24th July 2019. Distinguished participants, please welcome my Lord, the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Honorable Justice Ati Muhammad. As I said earlier, we cannot underscore the importance of the courts. Some people say the courts and arbitration should be parallel. Some say they meet at some point. Some say, oh no, let's do away with the courts completely. Can we do away with the courts? If you look at Section 4 and 5 of the Arbitration and Conciliation Act of Nigeria, it says that the courts can stay proceedings if parties have an arbitration agreement, among themselves. Section 7 of that same act gives the courts default powers of appointment when parties cannot appoint their arbitrators. If you go to Section 23, it gives the courts the power to subpoena witnesses in arbitration proceedings because arbitrators themselves don't have the powers to subpoena witnesses to even appear before them. Then, if you go to Section 29(1), the courts can set as an award. In other words, all what you've been doing for 1, 2, 3 years, just with a stroke of the pen, the courts can set it aside, be for misconduct or some other reasons they find valid. And also, they can remove an arbitrator, either for misconduct or some other reason. And then parties can, under Section 31, have to go to court for leave to enforce or refuse an arbitral award. In other words, even if you get your award at the end of the day, you can't do anything with it unless you go back to the courts to assist you to enforce, because the arbitration in itself does not have a machinery for enforcement of awards. And also, by the same token, a party that has lost can go to court and urge the court to refuse the enforcement of an award. Then, if you come to Section 34, which is the key section now in the Arbitration and Conciliation Act, it says a court shall not intervene in any matter governed by this act, except where so provided by this act. And I've given you some provisions in the Act where it's been stated that the courts can intervene. So you see that at the end of the day, can we really do without the courts? I don't know what the answer would be. But to kickstart this particular session and give its perspectives is none other than the Chief Justice of Rwanda, Honorable Justice Faustin Nteziryayo. Now, let me say something about Justice Faustin Nteziryayo. While he was a judge of the East African Court of Justice, he came to take the entry course exam. He passed it. He went on to take the membership. He passed it and went on to take the fellowship exams and swatted very, very seriously to pass this fellowship. And today is a fellow of the Ciarb Institute of Arbitrators. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me welcome again the Chief Justice of Rwanda, Honorable Justice Faustin Nteziryayo, to give his perspectives. My Lord, the Chief Justice of Rwanda.
Thank you once again, Chief Bayo, for this kind introduction. Honorable the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Honorable Justices, distinguished arbitration and ideal practitioners, distinguished participants. It's a great pleasure to be invited to this important conference. Having myself practiced as an arbitrator, though not at a large scale as these did distinguished arbitrators present at this platform, and having now moved to the judiciary, it is a privilege to have such an opportunity to address this august audience on the relationship between the judiciary, arbitration, and ideal, interventionist or supportive. Many prominent judges and scholars have talked about the relationship between courts and arbitration, pointing out that once a party has started or intend to start arbitration proceedings, courts can have important supervisory functions over the arbitration process by supporting the arbitration process in many ways and at all stages of the process, being before the constitution of the arbitral tribunal, in the course of the arbitration proceedings, once the tribunal is set up, and after the arbitration with issues pertaining to challenge of the arbitral award and the enforcement of the arbitral award. The relationship between courts and arbitration has also been seen in a broader context of countries' efforts to creating a conducive environment to foster business and investment. In that regard, countries have undertaken reforms of the justice system, especially commercial justice, in order to put in place appropriate and efficient contract enforcement and dispute resolution mechanisms. It is indeed well known that good enforcement procedures enhance predictability in the commercial relationships and reduce uncertainty by assuring investors that their contractual rights will be upheld promptly by local courts or through arbitration and alternative dispute resolution. Seen in this spectrum, and in an attempt to answer the issue at hand, it is clear to me that the relationship between courts and arbitration ought to be a supporting and collaborative one, and not a relation where there would be competition between courts and arbitration, or what one scholar calls jurisdictional tensions between domestic courts and arbitral tribunals. To me, it is very important that courts contribute to creating an arbitration-friendly environment. In fact, it is recognized that international commercial arbitration has become an important part of modern commerce. Both developed and developing economies are increasingly reliant on and supportive of cross-border arbitration in resolving disputes. States have established laws and institutions regulating arbitration to create a stable arbitration-friendly commercial environment and attract foreign direct investment, which in turn is expected to promote economic growth. In that regard, if I may share the experience of Rwanda, in 2008, a new arbitration law based on the institutional model law on international commercial arbitration was passed. Rwanda also became the 143rd country to accede to the Convention on the Recognition and Enforcement of Foreign Arbitral Award, the New York Convention, which entered into force for Rwanda in 2009. The aim was to ensure that commercial parties in Rwanda would be able to access an alternative way to resolve their disputes, thus increase the attractiveness of Kigali as a center of dispute resolution. And then in 2010, the Parliament of Rwanda passed a law establishing an independent body, the Kigali International Arbitration Center, tasked with promoting Rwanda as a venue of efficient arbitration service and a center of excellence for research and training of professionals in alternative dispute resolution. The judiciary of Rwanda, particularly commercial courts, were trained, commercial court judges were trained in arbitration and the court's role in the arbitration process. Considering that arbitration has, among other benefits, to promote the rule of law, especially regarding investment and the commercial disputes, the judiciary of Rwanda, like other judiciaries, is keen to promote arbitration and alternative dispute resolution in general because it helps in reducing the caseload of the courts and reducing delays in the resolution of disputes. That is the reason why many judiciaries, as I have said, are now encouraging courts to adopt a pro-arbitration approach in all stages of the arbitration process. And every time they are called upon to rule on arbitration, being in the enforcement of arbitration agreement, for assisting with the arbitral process, like in the appointment of arbitrators, decision on challenges, by issuing interim measures, or when it comes to challenge of arbitral award, or when it comes to enforcement of arbitration award. Regarding the enforcement of arbitration award, I would argue in a complete agreement with an eminent judge, Dominique Hasha, judge of the Supreme Judicial Court of France, that courts should enforce the party rights of access to arbitral justice by giving effect to arbitration clauses. He also argues that enforcing the party right to arbitration further imposes on courts a duty to assist parties and arbitration institutions in ensuring that arbitration is fully effective, in particular in helping in the constitution of the arbitral tribunal. Concerning the review and enforcement of arbitral awards, the above mentioned judge posits that the party's effective right to enforcement of an award is one aspect of the right to arbitration and of fair trial. Thus, courts should exercise self-restraint and only refuse to support the award whenever the fundamental exigencies of natural justice, such as the independence and impartiality of arbitration, equality of the parties and the adversarial process, or the absence of excess of power have been violated. As I said earlier, many African countries are striving to improve their arbitration environment in terms of being arbitration friendly, whereby courts support and respect the jurisdiction of the arbitral tribunal and the arbitration process. It is argued that by demonstrating a commitment to international principles developing in different jurisdictions, national courts will better serve the efforts of the national arbitration institution to attract and support arbitration. This will contribute to creating a conducive investment climate and foster economic and development of our countries. I can't conclude my intervention without mentioning, as other speakers often point out, that for arbitration to continue to be a trusted and efficient dispute resolution mechanism and expand in Africa, there is need to ensure professionalism and integrity of arbitrators and counsel involved in arbitration. Arbitrators and judges should be persons of high integrity and professionalism, because in most instances, as some authors point out, they have the last words. Talking again about the interface between courts and arbitration, I concur with Judge Herschel that the efficiency of arbitration is directly linked to the quality of the justice system. He is of the view that because arbitral proceedings could not develop undisturbed without the assistance and the control of state courts, arbitration must be backed by an efficient judicial system which guarantees the rule of law. Although there are still challenges to achieving efficient judicial systems and a vibrant arbitration landscape in Africa, courts should be committed to support all initiatives aimed at increasing the use of arbitration and other alternative dispute resolution mechanisms to resolve disputes, and as far as international arbitration is concerned, to do their part in all efforts aimed at increasing Africa-centered arbitrations. Thank you very much for your kind attention. Thank you.
Thank you so much, my Lord, the Chief Justice of Rwanda, for that very, very lucid intervention. My Lord, in a nutshell, is saying that the courts should be supportive and also collaborate with arbitration. And there should be no tension, that this tension comes sometimes. But my Lord has said there should be no tension between the two. My Lord, thank you so much for that perspective as a practicing arbitrator and also a Chief Justice of Rwanda. Thank you so much. The next person I'm going to call is somebody who, even though is a sitting Justice of the Supreme Court, she's always had an academic bent, a flair for academics. And you can see this in her judgments. When you read her judgments, your life expectancy is always increased. You're always very happy with yourself. And even though she has a heavy workload at the moment, and she's actually attending an ADR conference somewhere abroad, she's found time within her schedule to join us this morning. Please, I have the honor and pleasure to call on my Lord Justice of Supreme Court, Honorable Justice Amina Augie, GSC CON. My Lord Joseph.
Thank you so very much. I hope I'm connected. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. You are connected. We can hear you.
Learned participants, Bayo forgot to mention that we're classmates from law school. So I've known him since he was a very young, trendy young lawyer, I would put it. Okay, so anyway, I have just 15 minutes. So to cut to the chase, let me just put how I see this thing in proper perspective before I go down to what the topic is, what I really have to say about the relationship between the judiciary and arbitration and ADR. First of all, when I joined, I heard the chairman, is it the head of the institute from England say that Africa, I can tell you that I have this firm belief that not only are we going to be we have that hidden treasure that is waiting to come up. We may actually end up as a superpower one day. There is a lot that we have to offer. And if we want to ask as to why are we messing up now? Why are our leaders not up and going? Why are things not going? It's because it's not yet time. It's not yet time for us to rise up to that full glory. One day we will. And I want us to look at what these young people did with the NSAS, the way they were able to do things the way they did. We are of the old school. Our generation is going away soon. They are the ones coming. So this conference, I want us to look at saying we're speaking to the future. And the future we're speaking about is that Africa is the trade center of the world. We will have so much to offer. Every eye will be on how do we rush to Africa to go and get our next money and things like that. And to do that, we need to have our process on ADR. Yes, there's a traditional system, the court system, but like all of us know, the traditional court system is overwhelmed. So much cases and all these things. So because of the lapses there was a tendency to now go to arbitration and ADR. Another thing I want us to take into consideration also is human nature. It's human nature to aspire. You give, at one point, going first class was something. Next thing, no, we're going by private jet. Next thing is which jet is bigger than the other. So there is also the human tendency to dispute things. It comes in our nature. And if we come down to Nigeria in particular, I want us to also recognize the fact that some of the people that own companies that have to go in are people that, let's take for example, made money overnight. They are now operating in the big league. In that situation, you have a big lawyer who puts in an arbitral clause in there. They don't even understand the spirit of arbitration or ADR or anything like that. All they know is that we are now operating here and we have this arbitral clause. And so when you begin to play out to say, we're going to arbitration to settle this deal, he just wants to do a deal. His own is, let's get me this money. I need to do this deal. When things go wrong and they have to go to arbitration, he doesn't want to know that. If it goes against him, whatever it costs, I must see this thing to the end. I'm not going to pay this money. We see it with election petitions. No matter how it goes, you know how bad your case is. They are ready to take it to the highest extreme. Now, I also, in order thing to bring into perspective how we should look at this thing also, let's take example of election petitions now. The Constitution says that when it comes to Senate, House of Reps, State House of Assembly, it stops at the Court of Appeal. You won't believe up till a month ago, we still got appeals against the Court of Appeal decision on grounds that sometimes they would try to, I remember one SAN trying to incite us. My Lord, the decision of the Court of Appeal goes clearly against what the Supreme Court has held. The Supreme Court said this, and this, they have said this one. Another one says it turns fair hearing on its head. They violated all the principles known of fair hearing. At the bottom line, at the end of the day, is what do you want us to do? You cannot incite us because this Constitution says it ends there. So now, if we look at all these things in perspective, where do we go? Are we going to go the interventionist school of thought, which is that the interventionists believe that we should be like Big Brother. Big Brother is watching you. So you're watching every step of the arbitral process or anything to do with the ADR, or that we're like policemen. The interventionists want us to be like policemen that are standing there wielding a stick to ensure that everything is going as it should be. And why is that so? To ensure justice and promote integrity and all that. Those that want to, the supportive school of thought, and I want to add that a lot of jurisdictions have put that ancestral model law in there. So you have countries like Canada, the French, the UK, and all those countries that have gone, the supportive group of thought means to stay, as minimal as possible, non-interference. If you have to interfere, it should be at the barest minimum. So we have these two contending with each other. Which one do we go? Now, like Leonard San, my brother Bayo has said, Nigeria has, in the same act, given with one hand and taken with another. Yes, don't intervene, and yet at the same time, there are all these grounds, all these reasons for that allow you to we can set aside arbitral award because of misconduct, because of all this. So where do we go? Where do we stay? How do we balance this? My own view is that there has to be cooperation between the two. We cannot allow a situation where the arbitral process, arbitration, ADR, and everything is a law unto themselves to do as they please. Because in that regard, when absolute power corrupts, as they say, it corrupts, and it corrupts absolutely. So when you have them on their own doing whatever you want to do, you have a situation where suddenly things are, that integrity and justice that you want to promote and all that, things are going awry. You've created a monster that is now on its own doing as it please. There's nobody to supervise. There's nobody to look at what they're doing. They are going. What you have at the end of the day would be a situation where the same people that ran to arbitration to escape the problems they saw with the traditional system of justice will find themselves running back here. So to keep a balance, I would think that there has to be some complementary role between the two. Stay back as much as possible. You're not Big Brother. You're not a policeman. You're just there on the sides to ensure that those people working, playing over there should also know that when things go awry, when things don't go as planned, there is this, let's say like a father watching over the children. There's somebody going to actually intercede. They're not totally on their own. So I'm looking at it in a situation yes, like I said, let's look at the future. What do we do for the young ones coming up? How are we going to put ourselves ready for the future that is calling us? The future where everything will now be Africa, all the trade and everything here. Our arbitrators are in charge. That if they are looking for any arbitrator or anybody like that, they should come to Africans. We have a vibrancy. We have, I don't know how to explain it. There is life, when there is a rhythm and soul, that's what we have. And we need to create something. We're not following anybody. We are taking into consideration who we are, how we think, how we reason, and come up with a proposal, come up with something where we are like how do I say it? Well, on a tightrope sort of, where we're balancing this one, we're balancing this one, and ensuring that we have a level playing field where anybody that wants to come to Africa for whatever reason, for wherever it is, will have that confidence that we are operating with Africans, where it's for Africans, and everything is being done for Africans to the best of where we are. We have the young ones coming up. What we can't do, they're very ready to do. Like I told you, see how they were able to handle themselves during that NSAS. These are people that are ready, and it's a global view. They've watched too many movies and seen too many things. They've imbibed so many cultures that they are ready to move with the times. So my simple suggestion would be that we are, I think I still have a few minutes to say, like the House of Lords, an acceptable balance that I would suggest here is like the decision of the House of Lords in Kopi, Levelin, SA and MB case, where the court pointed out 3 instances where judicial intervention is necessary and encouraged. These include purely procedural issues, which the tribunal cannot enforce. Orders and procedures intended to preserve the rest, such as interim orders of injunction, and most importantly, measures relating to the recognition and enforcement of arbitral awards, because the arbitral bodies don't have that power to do that. So this would be what I would see as a reasonable compromise between the competing interests that is expected to serve the interest of the individual and the state parties. But there is no way you're going to actually be able to do away with the traditional system of justice the way I see it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, my lord, for that perspective. Really, really interesting. His lordship is saying that there should be cooperation between the judiciary and arbitration and ADR, and the roles should be complementary. In other words, we should have a reasonable compromise. And if you look at this squarely, you want subpoena, you go to the court. You want this, you go to the court. If what happens, you go to the court. Then at the end of the day, you now say, you don't want the court to intervene in arbitration. And so I agree with you, my lords, that we should have a supportive, collaboratory cooperation between judiciary and ADR. And also there should be a compromise, because you can't just leave arbitration open just like that without any support, on it. When things go awry and, when some arbitrators go up tangent. So thank you so much, my lord, for this perspective. And also thank you, my Lord Justice Paulson Tesiyayo, for your perspective as well. I understand that there have been no question and answers on this session because this is the flagship session of the conference. So rather than that, I'll hand over to the session coordinator, Dr. Agada Ilachi, to invite my Lord, the Honorable Chief Justice of Nigeria, to declare the conference formally open. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Chief Baojo, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Chartered Arbitrator, and former Attorney General of the Federation. I also thank my Lords, Chief Justice of Rwanda, and also my Lords, my Lord Justice Augi of the Supreme Court of Nigeria. It is now my pleasure and singular honor to invite to declare the conference open the Chief Justice of Nigeria, my Lord Justice Ibrahim GCON. My Lord.
My Lord, the Chief Justice of Rwanda, Honorable Justice Dr. Faustin Deseyal. My Lord, Justices of the Court of Supreme Court of Nigeria here present. My Lord, the President of the Court of Appeal and Justices of the Court of Appeal, heads of other courts here present, the President, Chartered Institute of Arbitrators UK, Nigerian Branch Chairman, Chartered Institute of Arbitrators UK, distinguished speakers, panelists, ladies and gentlemen. I bring you warm felicitations from the Supreme Court of Nigeria and from the entire Nigerian judiciary. I congratulate the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators UK, Nigerian branch, for the trailblazing role it continually plays the world over with regards to arbitration and ADR processes. The contribution to the body of knowledge is exemplary. I congratulate the president of the institute and his team for hosting the first ever Ciarb Nigeria virtual conference. I've been duly informed that the Nigerian branch has been consistent in delivering world-class conferences over the years. I believe that this one will not be an exception. Virtual conferences are the new normal, and the Nigerian judiciary has joined the world in embracing the new normal. We remain committed to engage in whatever measures required for the efficient administration of justice in Nigeria. I am informed that the focus of this year's conference is on court, the role of the judiciary in support of arbitration and ADR processes in court, whether with regards to support for the process or challenge or recognition and enforcement procedures. I understand that the panelists will also be looking at how the Nigerian judiciary fared. On our part, in the Nigerian judiciary, we have continued to provide policy direction and leadership in that regard. At all levels of courts, the Nigerian judiciary has demonstrated support for arbitration engagements and has battled awards. It is also worthy of note that all levels of courts have set in place mediation units with the view to helping parties resolve amicably the issues that can be resolved therein. This is work in progress, and I place here on record our continued support for such measures. Once again, I congratulate the leadership of the Institute, particularly the Nigerian branch, for what I can vividly see is a very successful conference. I thank my younger brother, Michael, for organizing this great conference. I hereby declare the conference open.
Thank you, my Lord, the Chief Justice of Nigeria, for declaring the conference open. With those remarks by my Lord, the Chief Justice of Nigeria, the conference is hereby declared open. It is now my task as we close the plenary to say a word of thank you to all our distinguished panelists in this opening session. I want to start by thanking my Lord, the Chief Justice of Nigeria, for making our time to declare the conference open. My Lord, we're grateful. I also thank the keynote speaker, my Lord, Justice Dr. Faustin Ntezi Yayo, Chief Justice of Rwanda, for your intervention and for exposing for your exposition on the topic of the support of the judiciary to the ADR and arbitration process. We also thank my Lord, Honorable Justice Amina Agi, quintessential Justice of the Supreme Court, ever amiable. My Lord, you're always a delight to listen to. We thank Chief Baojo, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, who is our pillar of the branch and always available to support us in whatever respect and regard that we ask. I will not conclude the thank you without saying a word of thank you to the chairman of the branch, Mr. Tunde Busari, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Chartered Arbitrator, who has given us as a CPC the opportunity to make history today by organizing the first virtual conference of the Nigerian branch. On that note, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, panelists, and the audience, who at 11 o'clock with two sessions running concurrently, the session on the relationship between, the sessions rather, on promoting a pro-arbitration, pro-enforcement culture in Africa, new measures in arbitration and mediation, and also the session on the Singapore Convention on Enforcement of Mediation Agreements, Matters Arising. These two sessions will begin at 11 o'clock and will run concurrently. So we invite participants to join through the Awuva app. You will see the links there. Once you go on the agenda, you can pick which of them you want to participate in. You can only join one for now, but the beauty of the Awuva app is that you have the opportunity to go back and watch the second session, which you didn't get to watch or participate in at that time. My lords, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the plenary session ends now. Thank you very much.